I just wanted to do a check-in this morning. It has been a little bit, and I wanted to let you know where I am in this process. I keep thinking about you guys, but I also don't want to be forcing myself into the next place just to talk about it. So I'm just looking back here. Today is June 9th. And I started this leg of the Embodied Law of Attraction journey on May 27th. So, let's say 2 weeks. And just to recap, so I recognize myself in the stagnant survivor phase and go back to May 27th for that video on YouTube or podcast on Patreon to watch or listen. I recognize myself in the stagnant survivor phase, specifically with my body. And I also recognize that all of the other areas of my life right now are pretty steady. So rather than pushing those, why don't I tend to this part of me that has been untended to for a while, specifically through my process? And so I recognized that I was in that place and I started tracking on May 27th. So I answered some of the questions that are available in my journal or in that video. And then over the next few days, I kept track of my thoughts, my emotions, my behaviors in certain circumstances. And if you've been following along, you know that my statement in this is you want to track in real time. So you're not looking back at a period and saying, well, this is my pattern. Like you want to track in real time. You want to capture what you are saying to yourself, what behaviors are creating what results over and over and over again, um, and what you're feeling. And I just did this by keeping my journal nearby. And because mine was body related, I was also keeping track of like what I was eating. And again, not in any way that's like pressure, but coming from a place of curiosity, interest, and neutrality. So I did this for 4 or 5 days. And then what was really useful is I reviewed what I had written, reviewed what I had been tracking. And through doing that, I was able to see a few things about it. One, that I kept looping through this like control, out of control loop, like doing something that feels out of control and then wanting to control it. And, um, the things that I say to myself about my body or what I'm eating, even if they're really not that big of a deal because of however many years of being guilty about choices or whatever. So, reviewed all of that, recaptured it, and just kind of claimed for myself, like, these are the things that have been taking up my space. And then naturally, I didn't have to dig for it, but naturally my desires came out of that. And the desires that came out of that were a desire for satisfaction, a desire to be attracted to myself, a desire to have like a specific body shape, and feeling. And there are some other feelings in there as well. So then I spoke about being in this new place of, I related it to the air element. The first one's the ether element. And the air element being this place of like, you're kind of bouncing between inspiration, information, and inspired action. And it should feel playful. And if it doesn't feel playful, then my last video is about that, like, what to do. And so I've been in this playful place. I researched some things that I felt inspired to research, and then they gave me options that felt like moving toward desire instead of moving toward control or out of control. Um, and still I'm not totally telling you yet the specific actions because this is kind of what I want to speak to today is this place is new. So I said in my maybe last video, like, if you imagine giving yourself 2 months for this process, for these 5 steps, just imagine you have 2 months. So you don't have to rush it, but 2 months is like a blip in time. Like you're going to get there so fast. I'm just saying 2 months out of historical experience. I'm not saying set a date on your calendar, but if you're actively engaged in this, that's what I've seen happen is about 2 months. People really are living in a different life that they choose. And so I'm not rushing it, but I am taking in like, okay, this is what and not taking in mentally, more experientially. Like, this is what I've been doing that I really love. And then I, so for me, um, I get out of balance with like carbohydrates, let's say. Um, and there's a lot of noise on the internet about carbohydrates, good, bad, whatever. I don't care. I am thoroughly familiar with all sides of the equation. I understand the mechanisms in place. I don't need any information about that. Thank you. Um, but for me, when I'm most out of balance, that's usually the thing that I'm out of balance with. And so this video that I found was like, okay, if you're gonna eat carbs, like, do this and then do this. And it was just like a do this beforehand, do this afterward. And it was no stress, no pressure. I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. That sounds great. And in the few days that I was doing that, I mean, maybe it was 2 days, it just continued or furthered the unwinding of my loop around like what I'm eating. I'm like, it gave me a way to have it really as much as I want, as often as I want, in whatever form I want. And also feel good about it instead of feeling shame or guilt or like I need to, rebound in some extreme way or whatever. And I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but the more we make something wrong or bad, the more power it has. So making, carbohydrates the enemy gives them a lot more potential power. And for me, my eating cycles, like what I was saying to myself and doing in response to my eating cycles, that had a lot of power over me and I didn't know how to get out of it. And that's how I ended up in the stagnant survivor in the first place. So now I gave myself, again, for a couple of days, a way to have that thing that I'm going to do anyway. Like if you're going to do it anyway, find a way to have it. Um, that just like pulled it out of the shadow. It pulled it out of the shadow and into the light. And I'm like, okay, great. I can just do this. I can just have this and like feel good about it. And now I'm like not in the same patterns. I'm not having the same thoughts. I don't feel out of control and I don't feel a need to control. I'm like naturally moving toward the things that had been flipping through my mind like a Rolodex for years that I wanted to do that I like wasn't able to get myself to do. Now I'm just naturally doing them. I'm not trying to make myself do them. I'm not trying to get myself to do them. I'm not trying to inspire myself to do them. I'm not trying to deny myself to do them. I'm just doing them. Like I'm naturally eating differently and I'm naturally moving differently and I'm naturally moving more and I'm naturally eating the things that feel good and are healthier um and with I don't even know with delight like I look forward to them like I look forward to the meals that I'm creating and the food that I'm eating but it just has a lot more neutrality. And this is just 2 weeks into this process. And I'm not dieting and I'm not um, trying to make myself do something. I just followed my own manifestation process and new information came forward. So, of course, it is about capturing my shadow, capturing my, I call it tracking and stuff, yes. But usually, what you find is like your shadow places and your wounded child places and the things that you inherited a long time ago. And you're like, I can't believe I'm still saying this to myself or doing this to myself or whatever. And through that natural tracking and capturing, they change. And when they change and you're not in the throes of your wounded child and you're not in the throes of your shadow and you're not in your survival body in that area of your life, you see more. You can see further. Things come into your mind that you're like, oh, let me try that. Or, oh, let me look that up. Or, oh, I remember this person said this thing a long time ago. And it just like resurfaces in your mind. And I heard this quote the other day that was, let me see if it applies. Um, it's go as far as you can, or go as far as you can see. And once you get there, you can probably see further. And that's this process. Like that first step, again, so vital to get yourself out of the like what you've been swimming in where you can barely see in front of you. You can barely see. And then once you're not in that murk anymore, you can see around you and you're like, oh, has this been like this whole time? Has all this been available this whole time? And the answer is yes and no. Everything's been there the whole time, but you haven't had access to it in the same way that you have access to it now. So, two steps in, baby, two steps in. And I talked about the inhibited implementer the last time as being a stuck version of this place. Again, if you get stuck there, go visit that video. And the next phase, which I'm just going to speak to, I haven't like broken it down and created a quiz about it or anything yet. But the next place is the catalyzed conjurer. And in flow, it looks like what I'm talking about. Like when it's in flow with the creative energy of the universe, which is what we're doing here, we're moving through the involutionary elements of the universe that bring spirit into form. And all of your thoughts and desires and all of that, those are in spirit. Not all of them are asking to come into form, but you know the ones that are. You know the ones that are trying to come into form. And this is how they come into form. So the catalyzed conjurer, that's getting into the fire element. So that's in the action and the motivation and the focus and the, da da da. And in flow, it's like you're just taking action. You're just moving toward your desire. When it gets stuck, that's when you are chaotically taking action. You don't really know what's working, what's not, why you're sporadically getting results, and why you're sometimes just reliving the same cycles over and over again. So that's the next phase I'll talk about. I don't know if that'll be in the next video. But I do know people that who get a little stuck in that phase. Usually it can come from the place of not this, and then they're like, no, that's it, I'm doing this other life. And then they just start doing stuff, which of course creates change in their world. It decrystallizes things really quickly, but they don't know how to make their results consistent. And, I speak about why my work is so effective. It creates congruence. It comes from you. So it's based on your internal wisdom and magic and sorcery. And I just forgot what I was going to say. Why my work is effective related to the catalyzed conjurer. Well, maybe I'll remember. That's so funny. It was going to be really profound, though, I promise. Um, so this is my update. Things are going well. I'm, again, not trying to push myself into something. Like right now, I'm already naturally taking action. And so I'm like, well, do I even do a video? Um, but I wanted to check in with you guys. And yeah, I like the action that I'm taking. And I don't feel a need to like pick up my desires and stare at them or ask, how long is this going to take or whatever. Like right now, I'm really enjoying being in the natural unfolding of this, which is just really nice when things just are unfolding, coming from within, coming from without. I also discovered, so when I moved, I'm definitely a person who sometimes experiences FOMO, and it's more like, okay, so I moved into this place in January and I signed a 15-month lease, and I don't know if I'm going to stay here beyond that. I may not. But when I was moving into this town, I was like, oh, I'm gonna um like build community, or go find community or whatever. And I did a little bit of that. And then in this process, and that also includes like body movement, like, oh, I'm gonna go find like the place I want to go work out. And what I've been doing instead is just doing it at home mostly. I do it at the red light place where I go when I go there twice a week, but it's not like in a group fitness setting. I'm just doing it alone at a in a public place. But my idea of what I wanted or what I was going to do, which is I'm going to go find the places I want to work out and I'm going to go find the people that I want to hang out with and I'm going to go blah, 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 blah. Like that came from an old version of me. And so recognizing, well, what I'm actually doing is I'm doing it at home. I'm doing it like my dog is an elderly dog and I love being with her. And I mean, I will leave her, but I don't like to. And I like having our kind of, I don't want to say pristine as in, I'm not like a pristine cleaner or something, but our space that's just like our space. And I think that's something I was going to say earlier is when you come into this new space, you are new. You've just decrystallized a lot of old stuff, especially at this phase. And this is when you want to be the most tender with your space. And when I say space, I mean what you listen to, who you talk to, what you share. Um, what kind of noise are you letting in? Is it noise that is supportive? Is it noise that is neutral? Is it noise that is destructive to your new place? And I say this to students all the time, which is be very mindful about who you share your fledgling ideas with and movements with and new manifestations with. Like people, even when they think they're well intended, tear down other people's stuff. I'm not going to go into why. It's for all kinds of reasons. Um, and so if you know anybody who does that, like don't they don't get a front row ticket to this show right now. Once you're a little firmer in your journey and the steps you're taking and where you're going and you feel like the steadiness and sturdiness of it, share with whoever you want. But definitely at the beginning, be mindful, be private. Other people don't like change a lot of the time. Like you start changing your space and everybody has to adjust. And people have a strong reaction to that. So you don't have to explain yourself to people. It's okay to just be mindful about what you're sharing with whom, when, wait till it feels steady and sturdy in you. I've spoken before about feeling like I was reparenting myself. I still feel that way. But I feel like the version of me that's here now isn't like the version of me that I'm saying past tense. I'm still living in the same body right now. I'm just treating it differently. But the version of me that was living in that body and having those experiences and in the stagnant survivor, like that version of me was like an infant. And through the work in the journal, I was reparenting that infant. And now I feel like maybe I'm 6 or 7, like I do feel playful. I feel youthful. I feel heart open. I feel like I have some vitality and it's natural for me to grin at things and enjoy things and all of that. And so it's a different version, but it's still young. So I'm still taking care. So what I was saying about my space is the idea that I was going to do this and this and this and this and this and this when I got here. Those are coming from an old version of me. And the current version of me wants to stay in my space, to be in my bubble right now. And I like this bubble. I like the podcasts that I choose, and I like the food that I'm eating, and I like that I have a workout set up in my spare room and also in my living room because why not? Who cares? I do two different things in them. Um, yeah, so just like being in my own space and in my own bubble and creating from that place, which I know has so much wisdom and I know has so much intelligence and I know has so much creative power and juice. And it just feels really nice. So keep your energy sacred, everybody, and also let not just new information come in from the outside as you're exploring a new way of being with your desires and manifestation journey, but let new information come from inside of you and see if the things that you thought you wanted and thought you were doing are still true, or maybe you want something a little different. Maybe you want it tweaked from what your expectation has been. Again, that interplay between inspiration, information, and inspired action. And if you are missing one of those three places when you're in this, new horizon, creative space, lean into that more. So if you are inspired and you're digging for information, but you haven't done any action, just try some action. Just give it a try. Try something in the direction of the new information that you've received or the inspiration you've received. And that will clarify a lot. If you're acting, but you're not really feeling inspired or informed, lean more into that. Like, how can you be more inspired? Do you need to watch somebody who has something that you want? Do you need to research somebody who has another way that you haven't tried? So these three places, you want to be bouncing through them still if you're on this step. And then again, we'll talk about the catalyzed conjurer more later.